Throughout evolutionary history, some of the earliest instances of human identity were tribal in nature. Housed in close-knit communities, people found comfort and safety by banding together in coalitions of people who shared their identities, values, and goals. In today's complex societies, many people gravitate, often unconsciously, towards people of the same race. But can these racial biases be overcome? Could something greater, perhaps an overarching, more inclusive identity, take their place? One summer, some young scientists decided to put this to the test. They randomly assigned volunteers who identified as white to one of two groups, Team Leopards or Team Tigers. The volunteers were shown photos of the members of both teams and learned that they included people of different races. Their own team included 6 black and 6 white individuals, as did the other team. Having memorized who was on each team, participants were shown the photos again while they were inside a brain scanner to gauge whether their new team identity affected their brain activity. Their responses were truly intriguing. While previous research had observed racial biases in brain activity, these participants' brain responses closely reflected their new leopard or tiger identities rather than their race. This activity was most distinct in a region of the brain called the amygdala, which was responsible for processing emotions and responding to important stimuli. Indeed, our brains are far from being wired from racism. Rather, they seem designed to adopt social identities that can either reinforce or break down this prejudice in favor of new identities.
So the next thing we did was take a look at some other measures of bias that we collected in this study. For example, we'd ask people to rate their opinions about each face that they saw. And what we found was that people felt more positively toward in-group member faces, their own team, than members of the out-group, but not differently based on race, mirroring the brain data. Of course, the big question here is whether this kind of finding could move from an artificial lab environment to the real world where it really matters. Can cross-cutting identities be used to produce more intergroup harmony in the real world? Fortunately for us, researchers have actually looked at this question.
In 2014, in northern Iraq, Sunni extremists known as ISIS engaged in a practice of genocide against religious minorities in that part of the world, leaving many people stranded from their homes and living in refugee camps, especially Christian minorities. Salma Musa, who was a PhD student at Stanford University at the time, decided to run an experiment to see if she could use shared identities as an intervention to help people bridge together these torn communities. She got permission to randomly assign people in a soccer league to have 3 Christian or 3 Muslim players assigned to their team. Although this raised a bunch of eyebrows and was stressful to implement, she eventually got permission to run the soccer league. When she ran it, she found that by the end of the season, people who had been exposed to people from another religion on their soccer team were much more open-minded and embraced people from these other religions. For example, they were willing to nominate people from another religion to win a sportsmanship prize. And they wanted to do it again and play in an interreligious soccer team the following year. She also found that the teams that were most successful were the ones who were most inspired to do this. The fact is that these individuals shared a common interest and passion for soccer, and soccer provided a platform for bringing people together because it involves cooperation, competition against other teams, coordination, and relatively equal status. And these were the key ingredients for bridging divides and bringing people back together.
Bias doesn't just exist in the heads of individuals, but resides in the social structures and the institutions that run our societies. It's embedded in how things work. Where are police officers sent on patrol? How do sentencing guidelines work? Why are neighborhoods still highly segregated decades after housing discrimination was made illegal? Universities have legacy admissions, which give preference to the children of alumni who, of course, were disproportionately white and wealthy. We need to grapple with all of these sorts of factors. And it's getting more complicated still with bias in technology and in the algorithms that run our world.
This research provides 3 clear lessons. The first is that creating a shared identity can help bring people together, even under the most extraordinary and tragic of circumstances, like in northern Iraq. Of course, this is just a critical starting point. This is not the solution for all problems. The reason is because in society, we often have institutions that pit us against one another or create inequalities that make it hard for people to stay as part of a common identity. The other lesson here is that people are not hardwired to be racist or anti-religious bigots. We are hardwired to be groupish. And now this groupishness can be used to divide us, or it can be used to bring us together. And so when we create institutions and opportunities for people to come together in society, we have to be mindful that we can leverage this tendency in humans to bring us together and help build more cohesive, harmonious societies.